Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran. We got some nerfs in the works, and Blizzard is apparently going to be expanding on a couple other class changes as we get on. But as of February 4th, we do know that there are some nerfs coming in for some of the classes, like rogues for example, as well as a massive nerf to mana for a lot of healers. In this video, I want to talk about the nerfs we have right now, discuss what it's going to do, what changes it's going to make, and how it's going to affect any of the gameplay. Let's start off with the favorite, the rogues. This is my main class, my main spec as Outlaw, but close second would be probably Subtlety, and then third, Assassination. But Assassination has always been the go-to spec. It has been the popular spec amongst a lot of rogue players, and has been a very powerful spec no matter the changes, whether they buff it, whether they nerf it. With the recent changes to Assassination, a lot of people started playing the honored talent of Neurotoxin. This is a very powerful ability that has a fairly low energy cost. It has 25-second cooldown. It applies a poison on enemies that lasts for 10 seconds. The Neurotoxin causes any ability to incur a 3-second cooldown. So think of an ability that somebody would spam at you or at an ally. Like for example, a healer spamming a basic heal spell just to pick up an ally. So any of those abilities would incur a 3-second cooldown. So you could stab, let's say, a healer with Neurotoxin, open up on the DPS, and when a Restoration Shaman, for example, just wants to spam a bunch of healing surges at an ally, they'll notice that their healing surges are really not getting through. So they have to mix up and change up their playstyle, so then it's like one heal then the other, and then it's a 3-second CD for everything, and then they have to rotate through their abilities, so it would really stump a lot of players. In a way, if you think about it, this ability caused somebody else to change up their playstyle on the fly. It was a very, very powerful utility that wasn't a direct crowd control. It didn't stun an enemy, didn't blind an enemy, didn't take him out of the game. It simply just forced them to relearn how to play their class in the moment's notice. I thought it was a very powerful ability for a while, and the potential behind it was always very high. But the problem with it is, it just never really picked up any kind of traction or any kind of speed when it comes to the basic gameplay. And only right now, as of BFA, we saw Assassination rogues actually pick up and start using Neurotoxin. So Blizzard took and nerfed this ability, so these are the changes that happened to it so far. Instead of a 25-second cooldown, it went down to a 45-second cooldown. Nothing really egregious there. They also changed down the cooldown of affected spells by 1 second down from 3. Now, 1 second down from 3 is still enough to cause the ability to stagger a player, because they won't quite be able to get their abilities off nearly. Well, 3-second cooldown does seem like a lot to be basically locked out of a heal spell every time you pop a basic one, so this would still stomp a healer. If a Discipline Priest is trying to desperately keep somebody alive, they can just spam Power Word Shield while Rapture is up over and over. There will be that 1 second gap in between if they're not aware of Neurotoxin. But what I think actually eliminates this ability and downright kills it is the 3-second duration down from a 10-second duration. Now, if they kept the 45-second cooldown and the 1-second CD part, I think that would have been fine, but by making this ability from a 10-second down to 3, this means it's going to be a very slim window where you need to use Neurotoxin to really disrupt somebody. If it was a 10-second CD and it only gave them 1 second cooldown increase to all abilities that they use while Neurotoxin is up, I could see that maybe still be viable. You know, you would run up to a healer, stab him with Neurotoxin, then you would open up on the DPS, and the healer has to now figure out how to play around Neurotoxin. It's not quite 3-second CD, it's a 1 second, which is still going to stomp them, but it's not going to be enough and egregious enough where it's going to be like, wow, there's literally no way to outplay this ability unless you know exactly what you're looking for. But by making this a 3-second duration, that means that the healer just needs to kind of wait those 3 seconds out, and that's it. Having a high cooldown of this ability means you don't really get to use it, so the moments where you could actually applicably apply this ability just go out of the window. So if you're having fun with Neurotoxin, I don't think Assassination rogues are going to be using it. Some people have even commented on Wowhead, for example, that they're simply just going to swap into Shiv, as now you have another honored talent spot that's basically like open. Now that Neurotoxin is basically dead. What do you guys think of this nerf? Do you think it's enough to be a dead talent, as a lot of people suggest, or do you think there's still some play left in Neurotoxin? Let me know in the comments below. Next on the plate, we got a healer nerf, and I actually had to look up to a little bit of information outside sources, mostly to Seedu, try to find on livestream if he commented on these changes at all. So let me first talk about the part that I understood, and then what Seedu adds to this in order to expand on how this change affects healers in general, since he's, you know, a BlizzCon winner healer. Restoration Druid mana regen now reduced by 55% in PvP. Holy Priest, Holy Pilot, Rested Druid, and Mist Weaver reduced by 50 in PvP, and Disciplined Priest reduced by 45% in PvP. On top of that, we saw Balanced Druid, Feral Druid, and Elemental Shaman mana regen reduced by 35% in PvP. Now, what does this mean for the healer-based gameplay? The first thought I had is, well, we're not going to get into as high of dampening before the games run out. If you're playing against these perfect teams that do try to play into the dampening when it becomes a mana game as well as a healer game, we're not going to be seeing ourselves getting into like the 70-80% dampening, maybe even 50%. It might be as low as like 30%, maybe 20%. So the games won't nearly last as long since there won't be nearly as much mana to go around. Sea-Doo goes on to expand a little bit more on what this means for the competitive gameplay scene, at least within Arena when it comes to, let's say, the competition brackets. This means that Restoration Druids and Resto Shamans, for example, are not going to play as offensive. Most people are simply going to just start playing as a heal bot, and that's all they're going to do. They're going to run out, go for heals, run away, get back mana, and AFK. A lot less people are going to want to push up as a Resto Shaman. He's not going to want to purge nearly as often because he has a limited amount of mana and not as much mana regen. Restoration Druid is simply going to take off Cyclone of the bars and it's going to be up to their team in order to try to score a kill. Same thing goes for Display, same thing goes for just about every other class, and Sea-Doo also says that Restoration Druid is probably going to be still the best healer within PvP. Knowing this actually made me a little bit sad, because I like the idea of healers being able to push in and get offensive with the enemy, push in and get offensive clones to help the team set up, push in as a Restoration Shaman offensively with the DPS so they can just keep purging a bunch of Restoration Druid HOTS, for example. So this is really going to come down to the DPS doing majority of the work. Yes, this is going to take us out of dampening, which is a good thing, and I think it's really good because dampening, I don't know how many people like dampener-based gameplays. To watch teams just like live forever and ever and ever and never die to just about anything, it makes mana more of a resource that healers actually have to manage and not something that's kind of like a stopgap. Oh, okay, I ran out of mana, I can't really play. It's more going to be like, okay, I have this set amount of mana, I need to execute specific abilities. Is it a lot of damage? I'm going to use an emergency heal. Is it a low amount of damage? I might as well use a longer cast heal just to make sure somebody's topped off. It's gonna make a little bit more, I guess, a question of what heal do you want to use, how effective does that heal need to be, how powerful does the heal need to be, how much mana for the healing that you get, how valuable is this heal gonna be. But on the macro, you basically are saying that healers, if you have abilities that just cost a lot of mana, simply just take them off your bars, and that might make for boring gameplay, but hopefully this doesn't end up contributing to that kind of effect too heavily. On top of that, Nourish for the PvP talent mana cost has been increased by 30% as well in order to help curb the Restoration Druid dominance as of right now. But let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comments below. It's also a good idea to check out the blue post yourself, as the developers themselves are actually taking a lot more engagement into the actual changes. This is small changes, but they added a note for Assassination rogue change, they added a note for the healer mana change, and they overall are giving more comments as to why they're making these changes. Which I love, even though I don't agree with every change that Blizzard makes. If they at least have a reasoning behind these changes, well then I can at least read the reasoning, read the comments and say, okay, well, maybe I agree on this part, maybe I see your point, or maybe I don't agree at all, but it's a good idea that they at least are writing down why they're making the changes that they are, and it doesn't feel quite as indiscriminate random changes that we're just not aware about whatsoever. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see all of you guys in the next World of Warcraft patch update.